The Dogs will be on the hardwood in no time. The season is barreling down on us, and there's no better person to talk to than the top dog himself, head coach Talvin Hester. He breaks down the team, how he pushes and gets the most out of his guys, plus what defines success. All that and more coming up next on Tech Drive. Voice of the Bulldogs, Kyle Schasberger. Welcome to another edition of Tech Drive. Head men's basketball coach and in his fourth season guiding the Bulldogs, Talvin Hester is our guest today. Coach, we're less than a month away from the start. November 4th at Nevada. It's going to be here before we know it. Team's been hard at work, training, conditioning, practicing since early July. Happy to pull you away. How are you holding up?
I appreciate it. It's coming fast.
It is.
As a player, you always want the season to get here. As a coach, you need more time. So we're doing the best we can with the time we have, trying to prepare our team and get ready. I think they're moving along, not at the rate that any coach would want, but we're happy with where we're at.
10 newcomers paired with the return of a healthy Will Jeffress and Will Allen and A.J. Bates and Caden Cooper. How would you measure the way in which this roster has blended together to this point?
I think you have to look at on the court and off the court. Off the court, I think I've been pleasantly surprised with how close they become, how much they've molded together. Usually in any other year in my career, you'd have, other than recently, I would say, you would have 3 or 4 new guys, and you would hope those guys could blend in with a cohesive group. Now we have 10 new guys. And so for 10 new guys to be as close as they are, I'm pretty excited about that off the court. And then on the court, I think there's a level of respect because of how they treat each other and how they spend time with each other off the court that I really like, and I see on the court. I see it at times. I see it when they encourage each other, or somebody has some condition to do. Another guy will run with them. So I'm pleased with that aspect.
Has it become any easier? I know it's a loaded question, but trying to mix and match, dip into the portal, that you're recruiting freshmen, you're identifying the right pieces year after year. It's always evolving in this still very new era of college athletics.
It's becoming a lot harder. It used to be a relationship thing. It used to be an identification or a work thing. Like you could outwork people. You could be at more games. You could call more. You could show you wanted a kid more, and it's changed completely. You can do all of that, but if things aren't the way they want when they get on campus, that you're not playing the same game as other universities. So it's become a lot harder. You have to find your niche, and I think not just Louisiana Tech, but I think every other school is trying to find what their niche is going to be based on where they're at. And we're trying to find that for us. Is it a few freshmen? Is it JUCO? Is it more portal? Trying to find that perfect balance that fits us and stay competitive.
It's a moving target.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Will Jeffress tore his patellar tendon in his right knee in the third game last season, ending the Pitt transfer season before really it even had gotten going. How is he doing in the run-up to suiting up this season for Tech?
He's fine. As far as the knee goes, he's 100%. I wouldn't say 100. Let me not be a doctor. Let me say he's able to go, I would say 80, 85, 90%, somewhere around there. I think the mental battle is going to be something for him when we get into live games and live playing. I think he'll have to do more recovery things. But then he's been hampered with a few knick-knack injuries that he's trying to get over. But we're excited that he'll be ready game 1.
I do want to stay on Will for just a moment because I know that was an emotional time last year. He had an emotional post on social media and was really trying to pull back the curtain and let people in on what he was dealing with. And, the team is trying to reinvent things on the fly. It's like all your work since last July kind of out the window and haven't evolved. I couldn't imagine, and I hate to, bring up old wounds when we're trying to move forward into a new season. But, for him personally, how would you measure what it is he had to go through?
I go back to the UMass game. He had played 2 unbelievable games. And so you can imagine a kid that felt like he wanted a bigger role at the university he was at before, University of Pittsburgh. And he comes here, and we tell him if he does the things that we think he can do, he can earn that role. And he did, and he embraced it. In the first 2 games of the year, he was dynamic. And for the third game to come, I think at the time that he got hurt, we're somewhere up 20 to 27 points, somewhere in that range. And then this freak injury happens. And I would tell you, seeing him sitting on the trainer's table that day was hurtful because all of his emotions were coming out. His parents were in town in New York that day. His uncle was there. And the trainer, we didn't know how bad it was or what it was at the time. But one of the other university's doctors was there. And he told him what it might be, and he just spewed emotion that day. And that's because, for people that don't know, he had injuries before that kept him out of seasons at University of Pittsburgh. And so he felt like it was all over again. So his career has been riddled with injury. And so he just wanted to play a season where he felt like he was a major contributor for a program. So his first thought was, now I have to go through a year of training before I can get back on the court. And so it has been an up and down battle mentally for him, just to stay focused, just to stay. And I think the mental battle going forward is going to be, can I play fully and expect to be healthy mentally when I give it all I got? And so for those who are out there rooting for him, he just needs encouragement. And for those who don't understand what these young men go through, it's not easy when you're trying to do something that you love doing and you keep having setbacks. So I'm proud of him. He fought through. There was ups and downs through this process. My job sometimes is not always easy because I do sympathize with what he's going through. I do understand that there's a mental aspect for him, but my job is to keep pushing him. And sometimes it's hard as a coach because once you have to keep pushing a kid that you know is going through something that you haven't experienced, you have to have a little grace on him. And so I've tried to be that toughness to him, but also understand that he's going through something that a lot of us would break down if we went through.
A lot of new guys, 10 of them. I'm curious how Will's story, that experience and adversity, the resiliency that it's taken has served maybe as a motivational tool, even for the new guys that have come in and only been around him for a short amount of time, to see the way that he's working.
You know what? I think it goes back to what we said about the recruiting. A lot of these guys weren't here. So I think we have a couple guys that really understand. Especially Will Allen, because Will Allen has kind of gone through similar things when he was here. His freshman year, he sat out. He had a shoulder surgery, and then last year he started the year and he was out because he had a fracture in his foot. So I think guys like that, guys like Will Jeff, guys like Caden Cooper, do really understand what like the process of what he's all went through mentally. But the new guys, they're new. By the time they got here, that's all they know him as. They really only know him as trying to get through summer workouts. And so that's a new thing that we're dealing with. I don't think they understand the full story.
It's a great segue because if there's a will, there's a way, and you got two of them. So Will Allen, highly rated recruit in the state from New Orleans that chose Tech, now redshirt senior, more of a rotational piece the last couple of years. What kind of jump do you expect from the 6'7" forward this season?
You know, we're trying to do some different things with him. 6'7" in our league, if you've ever been around our league, is a small, big guy. And so he's been battling alligators since he stepped in the league. And then not only has he been battling them on the other side of the court, but he's been battling them in practice. We had a 6'11" kid named Daniel Bacho that he had to embrace going against every day in practice. So we're going to try to do some different things with him to get him on the court with other big guys. So that maybe he can use his size as a strength at another position. Don't know if he'll embrace it. We won't take him away from what he's good at. He'll still play, some down low, but try to move him to the perimeter some because he moves fluidly and see if he can use his size to attack some smaller guys.
There's a pair of returning guards in A.J. Bates and junior Caden Cooper. Bates, a sophomore. Describe the skill set each of them bring. A.J., I know, started 4 games last year as a true freshman, but he really came on late. And then Caden started all but 2 games and is your top returning scorer.
Right. Oh, man, 2 different people. So Caden, this heralded, recruit that goes to Oklahoma, and as many young men know that sometimes you have to go where you're celebrated and not tolerated. And so he finds a place in us, as Will Jeff did here, in one of the bigger roles than what he was getting at Oklahoma. And we let him, we let him play through a little more mistakes than they probably would have. And through that, he was our best rebounder, our second best rebounder next to Daniel Bacho. And he had some really, really good days. But what people don't understand, they see the Oklahoma and think he's a finished product. He was in basically a freshman. He was basically a kid playing his first year of college basketball. So there's a lot of ups and downs. And so we're looking for him to improve on that this year. And then AJ Bates, coming in, you knew he had the mental and the capacity to be good, but the game was fast for him starting off, whereas Caden and those guys had the ability to practice at the level for a year and get in a few games. He was a true freshman. And early in the year, it was a struggle. But then around December, you start seeing him have some pretty good days where you could see he could help. And then later on in the year, it just clicked for him. It just, we needed him in a game, and he was pretty good. And I felt like I told the staff he had earned some more minutes. So on a road trip, I don't know, I can't even remember. I can't go back in my head to what happened. But we played him. Started minutes, or we started. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what happened. We were playing FIU, and they're known for pressuring. And I said, let's put two ball handlers on the floor. And so we put two ball handlers on the floor in that game, and we were dynamic, him and Sean Newman. And I was like, okay, let's ride him out the rest of the year. And then Sean Newman gets hurt, and he starts another game at the end of the year, plays 40 minutes, and has a dynamic game. And I wanted to do some things this summer to keep him building and to carry over to this year, and more leadership things. Being a sophomore and trying to be a leader sometimes is not the easiest, but I think he has those capabilities.
Do you feel like AJ's embracing that?
Oh, definitely. If you ever sat down with AJ, it's not hard coaching AJ. He's a yes sir kid, and I don't even require yes sir. If people say yes coach, I'm good with it. But he's a kid that anything you try to get him to do, he's going to try and give it his all to do it. And if you say, let's switch this up, there's no argument out of him. It's just, coach, let's be the best we can be.
He seems, from my time at practice, too, one of those, to your point earlier about encouraging others, certainly through tough, conditioning drills or whatever it may be. Among the newcomers, I love the upside of, and I love them all. It's not that I love any one of the 10 more than the other, but freshman Jalen Fenner from Humboldt, Texas, physical frame, 6'6", 210. Then there's the towering presence of the 7-footer in Mel Martinez, who transferred in and is from the Dominican, who will stand out in any lineup.
Yeah. Jalen comes from an unbelievable high school program. I've lived in Houston for a long time. And so in Texas, you get to know the coaches from the state you live in really, really well. And I've always taken the philosophy that I'm going to recruit programs more than just kids, because if they're coached well, they might statistically might not be where you think they should be, but you'll know they have something in them. And so I recruited his high school and signed some players at the University of Houston when I was there. And then years later, I had a chance to go back and I saw Jalen and I was like, I think he can be really good. I didn't realize he'd be this good this fast. And it take away the basketball court, he has been a vocal leader and a guy that has a presence to hold guys accountable as a freshman that I've honestly never seen in my career. And I've done this 25 years. I mean, you don't see guys like him. And so we're excited about him. And then Mel, I felt last year we had, of course, Bacho, and we had size. But when Bacho came off the court, we didn't look the same, which can be good and bad, depending on where the game is at. And so I felt like we needed to be able to be big. I felt like rebounding was an issue that we had, especially with Will Jeff getting hurt. We had to play Caden as a big guard, sometimes let him guard bigger players, and I felt like it hurt us in a lot of games. I felt like sometimes we would get stops and we couldn't secure the rebound. And so I wanted to get more size, and Mel was a product of that.
Mel at 7 feet, it would appear, one of the challenges with him, given he's been at two different stops too, and, the international flavor is just getting that guy to play to his size, right? The physicality is going to be a big thing with
You
him.
know, nowadays everybody want to make everybody Kevin Durant. You
Yeah.
know, 7 foot. They want to put him on the perimeter, shoot threes with him in workouts, and guys, rebounding is probably the biggest thing you can do in sport. It secures defensive rebounds in possessions, and so we're trying to get him to be more of that rebounding presence. Yeah, we can utilize some of his other skills, but that has to be a staple of what he does for us.
Talvin, I appreciate going through the roster. I got a couple. I want to hit every guy in some fashion as much as we can. Then we'll get to some of your story. But Oral Roberts transfer, Sir Isaac Heron. Then there's 2 from Jones College that came in together, Avery Thomas and Kylan Howes. All 3 provide some length, it appears, but different skill sets. How was it that each of those got on your radar?
I've known who Sir Isaac was since he was in high school. Just like I said, living in Texas. And then the reason for Sir Isaac, again, is to increase our length and our ability to rebound the basketball and get older. You know, your roster can't be too young these days. You wouldn't be able to compete. And so older rosters went out. I don't remember last year. I think they said Auburn's roster was older than Oklahoma City Thunder's roster.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range, and so Houston's roster was really old, 2 Final Four teams. So you want to stay old. So that was a reason for Sir Isaac to get some length, get some age. He's a grad transfer, had been in the university system 4 years. Jones College guys, Kylan and Avery. So we go recruit at these junior college events. My assistant had been telling me that we need to get over there. They had a big kid. Losing Daniel Bacho, we know we have to increase size. And I go see this really active, playing hard, big guy named Kylan Howes. And so I see him, and I'm like, I like him. And, you know, we're watching Male at the same time. And so I see this guy, and I was like, God, I like his motor. I like the way he plays. I like how hard he plays. And so we just started recruiting him. Well, as we started recruiting him, there was this long, lanky freshman that just kept showing up in the box score. And I was like, guys, so I kind of said I kind of like this kid. It was his first day ever playing college basketball at this JUCO event, and so I was like, he really intrigued me, and so we followed Avery all year, and through the year I found out he's going to be special, and we just, you know, went all in on it, and I'll be honest, I think Avery's going to shock the world on as a sophomore how good he really can be.
It's really cool and unique how, you know, coaches, and this story is. There's some parallels to the football side where you go to look at one guy, but then somebody else catches your attention, and just how all that can happen. You know, I think of Tony Franklin going to Saddleback and looking at Braden Bockler, the tight end, and finding Trey Kukoc, and then Dane Benedicts, and you get 3 of them, you know, when you went out there to look at one. So we can see that with both Avery Thomas and Kylan Howes. Scooter Williams, again, we can do this with basketball. We can't do this with 108 football players rolling through. Jamarian Anderson, DJ Dudley, our other transfers. DJ definitely certainly is a different breed of human. I know we talked off mic. I'm curious how much you could share. I love it. He's from Inglewood, California, very particular about what he eats, how he dresses, where he sleeps. May need a whole other show for that. Like, I get it. Keegan Rowell, Amir Williams round out the 14-man roster. Let's focus on DJ, though, as much as we can. 6'3", 175. What can you share about his story and the role he can potentially carve out for himself?
I'm gonna help him out. He lives in Inglewood, California. He's gonna say he's from San Diego because he did grow up there. His parents are military, so throw him a little shout out there. He beats his own drum. Like he moves it in his own way, and he's confident in who he is, and his confidence gives me life. And I try to embrace that of him and encourage him to be him. Very naturist. If anybody wants somebody to represent nature and forestry and being outdoors, it's DJ. Unbelievable person. Has not ate fast food or outside of the house since he's been in Ruston. He cooks his own foods. He's vegan. He eats super clean. But yet he's serious about it. It's not like he doesn't eat. He pre-meal preps and he's scheduled. He's probably as disciplined as any kid I've ever coached. Recruiting him is so crazy. We went out to California. So I spent time in California as an assistant. And we went out to California to look at a kid named Sean Newman. And when we were out there, I kept getting calls about a kid named DJ Dudley. So I went to see DJ, And at the time, I really liked him. But the issue was, again, we go to this age thing. Sean Newman was a JUCO kid had been in school 3 years and is going to be a sophomore as a starting point guard that's basically on his fourth year of college, like an old kid, which I think that worked out for us really well. But then I never stopped. So DJ goes to Ryder, plays at Ryder his freshman year. And then all of a sudden, we're going to see some big guys. We're going to see Kylan and Mel at this JUCO Jamboree. And one of the better teams nationally is always Hutch Junior College. And so when we're going to see Hutch, we're going to see them play South Plains to see if South Plains, a Texas school, has anybody. And there's this guard out there really putting in some work. And I'm like, he's cut his hair now. He used to have blonde hair. He dyed it blonde. And now he's bald. And I look at my book. I was like, who is this kid? And it says DJ Dudley. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And so at that time, we talked about the recruiting and how things are. I don't know if we need a point guard. I don't know if Sean Newman's going to come back. I don't know I'm returning. I got a roster full of guys with years that are eligible, they're eligible to come back, but I don't know. So I tell our staff, just keep that name in the back of our head. And then, of course, the portal hits. Everybody wants to go make money. And then I said, let's call DJ. And we called DJ, and the relationship was already there with his mom. The relationship was already there with some of his AAU coaches, his high school coach. And he brought him on a visit, and he loved it, and we loved it. We thought it met up, and so we're excited to have him.
It's emblematic of the importance of maintaining relationships, right? Definitely. You never know how someone's going to come back around. I mean, you treat everyone with kindness and a certain level of authenticity, and DJ Dudley came through.
Well, I give him credit because a lot of people would have been in their feelings. Oh, they didn't recruit me the first time. But everybody has a time in their race that they need to run, and I think it's better they recruit him now, so he wouldn't have had to sit behind Sean Newman for years. He wouldn't have had to take it the slow route. He can come in and he can get going immediately. So
when it comes to recruiting, portaling, and of course developing this group so that they're playing its best ball come March, it takes a village. You got a strong staff around you in Winston Hines, Darshawn McClellan, Tim McGraw, Tyson Batiste, Caven Gilder, Tilbury, and not to mention maybe the most critical piece of this entire operation and keeping everyone aligned is Brooke Reed.
Yeah, so I was very calculated, put my staff together. So I went to this thing called the ACE program in 2011 when I was at San Jose State. The NCAA flew 24 coaches that they felt could be head coaches. For the women's side, 12 for the women, 12 for the men. So I was blessed to be a part of that. And they used to always say, like, if you get a head job, you can't start thinking about being a head coach once you get the job. You have to start thinking about it before. And so I would always keep names of people, if I got a head job today, who I would hire. And when I went through that process for years, I didn't get the job till 2022. That's 11 years later. When I went through that process, what I realized is the people on my staff aren't going to be people I don't know. It's going to be people I come across that impress me, or I'm out recruiting, or a young GA, because of course, my dream was to get a job and I hire my friends that are in the business that I know are good, but they're priced out at that point. I mean, my best friend's associate coach in Kentucky. He's not coming here to be an assistant. One of my friends is at Texas. One of my friends is, was at Oklahoma at the time. Like, they're not coming to be your assistants. So I had to get to know younger guys that were up and coming. And so everybody on my staff had a connection with me. Coach McGraw was the first guy to ever give me a job. And me and him had talked through the years. He won 4 national championships as a JUCO coach, and we kept in touch. And I thought, for somebody to kind of be in that chair and give me head coaching advice, I thought it'd be good for somebody I knew to do that, not some random guy that I didn't know. Winston Hines. So for people to know my story, I don't have a dad that was a Division I coach. I didn't play at a Power 5. I went and I worked through JUCO and NAI and through the SWAC and through a lot of lower leagues, and I just kept working. And I figured out when the power of hard work, if you can outwork people if you're just willing to get up and do things that they're not willing to do. And so through that, my time in the SWAC, I can remember helping Prairie View. We were one of the lowest rated teams in the country. Back in the day, it was the RPI, and now it's the net. But and we went from being dead last, not having full scholarships, to building a program where we're finishing at the top of the league consistently. And people used to say, how long are you going to stay there? And I was like, you have to realize not too many people are calling me from here. Well, I felt like I was pretty good. I didn't want to you know, judge myself, but I felt like I was pretty good. Then I got an opportunity to leave. And when I did, I made the most of it. As you see, I'm sitting here today. Well, I knew that there were some good coaches in that league that didn't have resources that would be good. And that's where Winston came from. I knew Winston. He was associate coach at Grambling. He was on staff that won their first ever championship in the Division I era at the school. And then he was on a staff that had won multiple championships. And I was like, if he can do it with those resources, and of course he comes here and he feels like this is Duke. He has way more resources than what he had. There's never a day he complains. He just works. And so that's how I met Winston. Caven is a story that I don't think we're going to see too much more because of the portal and not relationships not being fostered. I recruited him when he was 17 years old to Stephen F. Austin State University. I recruited him. We had just won a championship. My boss gets the job at Texas State. I go with him. I convince Caven to come with us. And it coached him. He becomes an all-conference player. He plays overseas, and he calls back and says, Coach, I want to be a coach. And then I helped him because I remember who he was as a player. His reputation preceded him. And so I hired him, and I knew he'd be good. Darshawn and Tyson worked with me at Texas Tech. And they were in my, young GAs or young Tyson was a GA, but Darshawn was a support staff. They were intricate in helping the assistant coaches do scouting reports and things of that nature. And in that, I was like, these guys are above their time. Tyson that worked at Arkansas with Musselman. Darshawn that worked at UTEP in this league with Rodney Terry, played at Vanderbilt. So I'd already knew their work ethic and who they were. And I was like, these are two dudes I would take with me. And then, of course, Brooke, she is different. And so my motto when I hire people is I want people to be a champion in their role. And I'd been on too many staffs, and a lot of coaches will understand what I would say by this is usually people hire like a young up-and-coming coach to be the ops. But that causes a little friction sometimes. And in my time as an assistant, you would always have different people along the way that were ops, but they wanted to be assistants. And so instead of being great at their job at being an ops and creating value for themselves, they would always want to do assistant work. They would always want to go to the coach and show that they could be better recruiters. And I didn't want that. Right. I didn't want staff confliction because you got a guy who doesn't want to be a champion in his role. So when I was at Texas Tech, we had a female who was kind of like our ops. And I was like, that's the answer to the question. And so at the time I got a job and I had met Brooke through being at Texas Tech, and they were going through some turmoil in softball. And I'd found out information because you just don't hire people that she had been through 3 staffs. Wow. And I'm like, why are they keeping her through 3 staffs? So I just sat back and watched. She was on committees. She was in staff. Like they would have her do a lot. And so I was like, she has value. And so when I got the job, didn't know I would be a head coach. I'm thinking we'd be at Texas Tech for years. When I get a job, I called her and said, would you consider switching over from softball to basketball? She said, I don't know. I don't know anything about basketball. I said, but you know something about being an ops. That job's the same. And so she thought about it. She called some of her people, and she said, yes. And I was like, great. Well, we had a little hitch in it. They end up letting their softball coach go, and they hired her as the interim head coach. That verified what I knew about her. They hired her as the interim head coach for the Big 12 tournament. And so at this time, I'm not going to lie, she was a softball player at Western Kentucky. I was like, I hope she doesn't blow it out the water, win. This is a Rudy story waiting to happen. She goes and wins, beats Texas or OU. And I didn't know anything about softball, how good Oklahoma was or Texas. But I know sometimes when kids get new life, they rally around that coach. And so I was like, please don't change your mind on me. And so she didn't, and she's here. And for anybody who's ever spent time with her, she is the most organized, together person professionally that I've been around in my career. And she keeps the office clicking on those cylinders. That way we can be good basketball coaches. And I probably lean on her too much. But I'll be honest, like she's kept me being able to focus on the basketball, not on turning in travel receipts, not on the organization of the meeting. I'm at every meeting on time because she gets us at every meeting on time. So she's like our we call her auntie. The players call her auntie. So she's like our team mom almost.
That's fascinating. I had no idea the backstory of Brooke to
Yeah.
that extent. So her and I will certainly have more to talk about. That's amazing stuff. Managers, trainers. There's Blake, your strength coach, who's been with you for some time. I won't be the only Midwestern influence, I
No,
guess,
not
on
at
the
all.
trips coming up this year. He's awesome when he's not giving me grief for the size of my arms. Although him and I are going to have some competition when we're on the road.
Super important position on the staff is a strength coach.
Yeah.
I know people equate that to football, but basketball, if you don't have a great strength coach and you go out there and get bullied, you have no chance. And so, of course, when I came in, they said you can hire your own strength coach. But I think one of the benefits of me being here and one of the things that helped me in transition is I didn't get a new job in a place I'd never been. I didn't have to learn about the place. I'd been here as an assistant. I knew the area. I knew people. And so when I walked in the door, I already knew Blake. Blake was my ops before Brooke. Before Brooke, it was just me and Blake in the office, and they asked me what I wanted. I was like, definitely, I have a relationship with him. I think he yearned and had the desire for some of the things we wanted, disciplinary wise and strength wise. And so I was like, Blake, let's get this thing rolling. And I kept him, and it's been great. I don't know if people follow, the page when we the players are flexing and things, but I mean, our guys are gaining weight. Our guys are lifting strong. There's a good atmosphere in the weight room, and so I'm really excited about. I'm glad we have Blake here. I think he fits right in. So,
how does the role of your wife and daughter play into all of this from a support system standpoint?
They are like military brats, both of them. My wife is a military brat. Her dad's retired Army, and my daughter, she knows nothing but college basketball is a life. When I say knows nothing but college basketball, as a father, you worry about your kids. If I worry about anything with my daughter, her personality is great. I think she could probably coach a game with me. When I go home, she's my biggest critic. She says, Daddy, why did we keep him in that long? I don't think he was playing well. And I'm like, you're 14, stop. But she's only known basketball. But home life is I don't have pressures of home life of we need to do this or we need to do that because it's taken care of because my wife understands what I do. And Coach McGraw used to tell me a long time ago, he used to say, at the end of the day, that could ruin your career as a young coach or that could enhance your career. And so because she understands that and because a good Saturday for my daughter is coming to practice and that gives my wife me time. That gives her time to relax but yet when it's time to do things, my wife understands that I need her help to do things. And so she's able to take care of things on the fly for us. And help out in those kind of ways. And then because of her background being a military brat, when it's time to pack up and go, she's always been, let's get it. It's always been, okay, when do I need to call the movers? When do I need to do this? It's never been about where we live. She's understood that we live in some places that most people wouldn't want to live. But we've had our fair share. We've lived in Houston, San Jose, California, the Bay Area, but we've also lived in Nacogdoches, Texas. We've also lived in Tulsa and Lubbock and Ruston. So they're champions in their own right. And people don't understand if you don't have a background and family that's supportive, sometimes being a coach can be really hard.
Couple more minutes with Talvin Hester, head men's basketball coach at Louisiana Tech. Attitude and effort, that's your MO. Defense, shared with you at the end of my process before coming here, which was a long road, how much your value system really appealed to me. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And, you can get after some guys. You've seen every side of this as you've worked your way to fulfill a dream as a Division I men's basketball coach. You worked under Kelvin Sampson, Paul Mills. You were here before under Eric Conkle. I would imagine those guys, those influences have helped to attribute your coaching philosophies and approach in so many ways in getting these men ready for battle.
Yeah. For people who've had multiple bosses, there's some coaches who they come in and they've had the same boss their whole life and they become a product of them. But for me, I've had a lot of bosses, like a lot of people, and what you find is you become a little bit of all of them. Because as people, as humans, even as coworkers or friends, you take the best of everybody you're around and you try to emulate the best. Most of us don't invent anything. Most of us are using or becoming who we are because we can modern ourselves or pattern ourselves after people who are smart, who do things well. I think that's what history tells us. And so I've tried to take the best of all of them, whether it be Kelvin Sampson and his attention to detail and um, his desire for teams to be tough, his desires for teams to play harder than people. Danny Casper's, locked in ability to be we were the number one defense in the country at Stephen F. Austin, 27-5 that year. Or when I was at San Jose State with George Nessman, we were one of the best offensive teams in the country. We had a top 10 scoring guard every year, and I try to be a little bit of all those guys, even down to Tim McGraw as a JUCO guy. And one thing I've learned is that the successful guys hold people accountable. And not just the team, like their staff. I hold my staff accountable. Like there's accountability in the office. Their standard is the standard for us. And so if we do that and everybody rolls in the same way, sometimes you don't enjoy the journey when you're in the journey. A lot of those years that we won championships or whatever, during the journey, it was hard. And it was a lot of sleepless nights. It was a lot of long days. But you look back on it and in my gray hairish days, you learn that those are the things that make great memories. And so my job right now is to help us fall in love with the process of being good and not what the result will be, is just fall in love with the process. And we can fall in love with the process, which I've learned from all those guys, then you create good habits. And if you create good habits, then you become a good team.
Falling in love with the process. That's likely your answer to what must happen between now and March to be able to punch a ticket to the big dance. But we'll get you out here on this. Size up the schedule for us. November 4th, you play at Nevada. You got a pseudo home and home with Indiana State. The return trip of the Sycamores here 1 week after you play them, so that's back-to-back games, part of your MTE around Thanksgiving. You play Dallas Christian, which is where you played your college ball. I saw that's pretty sweet as well. And then the 20-game league schedule takes hold.
No doubt. Again, you become the Dallas Christian thing. So Kelvin Sampson coached at Montana Tech. He went to college in North Carolina at UNC Pembroke, if I'm not mistaken. If you ever notice on the schedule, every now and then he plays those schools. They come in and do exhibitions against them. It's a way to give back. It's a way to give back to somewhere that you spent your life and it kind of influenced you a little bit. And also help them because those teams don't get to play this level games often, and so it's a way to be able to get back a little bit. But our schedule, we try to put together a schedule that challenges us in the non-conference every year. I mean, it's not, but those challenges, I don't have all day to explain the process of scheduling. It's not as easy as people think because two teams have to agree on playing, and so as many teams are level. Understand that it's not as easy getting games as you would think. That the most coveted thing you can do in scheduling is get home games. But to get home games, you would have to have somebody agree to come to your home, and that's not easy when you have the TAC and the history of the TAC and winning games in the TAC and winning 20 games a year. People just don't want to come. So the options are they buy you, and it's a guarantee game. But then when you're a pretty good team, people don't want to buy you. When you win 20 games a year, they say they'll take their chances and pay teams that don't win 20 games a year. But we feel like we have challenged ourselves with Nevada on the road. We have challenged ourselves with Tulane on the road. I try to play as many Louisiana teams as I can, as much as I can, because I want people to understand and recognize the matchups and maybe bring some fandom ness to the arena. But
ULL is one of those coming in December.
Every year.
Yeah.
I play them every year.
Yeah.
ULL this year, Tulane this year. A couple years ago, I played McNeese. I played Southeastern, Nichols, Stephen F. Austin right across the border, Monroe. Try to play as many as I can. But and then we have Georgia Southern, who was a home and home. They were a team that agreed to come here, and so we're going to go back and play there. And so with all those games, and then the last thing was the MTE. So the MTEs are changing every year. And the reason we wanted to throw our own one is to get more home games, to get more chances to play in front of our fans, which helps in so many ways. And two, to cut so much travel academically for our team in the non-conference. We're still an academic institution. And I felt like if we can get more games here, I think we're at 17 home games on the year, maybe 7 in the non-conference, that we'll be home more games and we'll be on the road and not have to miss as many days of class. And so I'm excited about that also, because I still believe that the education piece is an important piece for our young men, and I don't want to lose sight of that ever. And so as they mature into young men and adults and adulthood, that we can leave them here, even in the portal area, as close to a degree, if not getting a degree, as we can.
Bulldogs have won 20 games in 11 of 13 seasons. I know you got to get ready for practice here this afternoon. What kind of player were you, 96, 97, Dallas Christian?
I wish I was tougher. It's probably why I coached the way I coach. But I was a really good shooter. I played the point. Point guard was not a position that it is now. Like, I didn't have Kyrie handles. My job was to get the ball up the court and enter the offense and be able to knock down an open shot. And, I think my strength was that I was very good shape all the time. I was the guy that people didn't want to guard because I could run all day. And if I didn't have the ball, if maybe somebody else got the ball, I could fly in transition to go get layups. And but I look back on some of the things that I think my coaches tried to instill in me. And I think wisdom, people think, is this thing that pops in your head when you get old, and it's not. Wisdom is the experiences that you have. And you look back on them, whether you took advantage of them or not, and you say, that's what he was saying. And those are the things that I needed to learn. And so when I get with Kelvin and Danny Casper and these guys, I start to see the things that my coaches were telling me. And it's brought me closer to actually my high school coaches and college coaches, in the sense that I understand that they wanted the best for me. I understand that even in the hard times, that they weren't telling me anything that was wrong. And this is advice that I would give young men to this day. So.
Talvin, thank you. This has been excellent. Appreciate you so much coming on Tech Drive.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me. Go Dogs.
That's Talvin Hester, the head men's basketball coach of Louisiana Tech. Reminder, head to Patton's, go to downtown, Patton's downtown, Patton's Western Wear, look your best, heading to work, out of town, or to the big game. You can find it all when you shop locally at Patton's, a North Louisiana tradition since 2007. For Jack, Carson, Cav, GB, I am the voice of the Bulldogs, Kyle Schasberger. Many thanks again to Talvin Hester, head men's basketball coach. Catch us at Rotolo's for the return of Inside Bulldog Football Thursday at 6 o'clock. And appreciate you, as always, for tuning in to the Tech Drive.